What do you do with tailenders? One of my favorite pieces of advice that I give my students and my clients is when they're tapping on their own to make sure they have a pen and a piece of paper nearby. So as they are tapping, they can capture the tailenders that come up so they can tap on them in the future. Now, that is a great piece of advice, but what do I even mean by that advice? So today what we're going to do is we're going to explore tailenders and how you can use them to create transformation. This is Gene Monterastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 609, originally aired May 1st, 2024. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. One of my favorite parts about the subconscious mind is the fact that it will not abide us saying or thinking anything that it disagrees with. And so what it does in response is it creates something that is a tailender, which is on the tail end of our thoughts. And for me, as annoying as it might be, I find this super, super valuable. This is some of the most meaningful information we can receive when we sit down to do any sort of transformation, tapping included. And so what we're going to do is we're going to explore what tailenders are, how you can capture them more effectively, and then what do you do with them to create transformation after they show up. Now, what we're going to talk about today is a tool that is called tapping. Tapping is this super powerful tool that I use for myself, that I use with my clients all of the time. If you are new to tapping, all you need to do is follow the little red arrow in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that. It will take you to learn2tap.com. It will give you all of the basics on tapping so you can dive even deeper into it so you can use it every single day if you'd like, just like I do. So today we're going to move through this in 5 simple parts. We're going to talk about tailenders. We're going to talk about how to capture those tailenders, how to prioritize those tailenders, how to figure out what is behind those tailenders, and then do some really simple tapping to clear those particular tailenders. So first of all, tailenders. Tailenders are, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, they are the ideas and the phrases and the thoughts that get stuck on the tail end of whatever we've just thought and whatever we've just said. So as an example, I could sit here at my desk and go, I am going to make 5 new sales this week in my business so I can move forward in the way that I like. Now, intellectually, that might make a lot of sense. I might have everything at my disposal to do that particular thing. But if I have a story in my subconscious mind that doesn't agree with that, it's going to speak up. So after I complete the phrase about the number of sales I'm going to make this week, my subconscious mind all of a sudden says, no, you're not. You've tried to do this before and you failed, and you're going to fail again. And so this information, which tacks itself on the end of my phrases, is my subconscious mind speaking its truth. And you'll notice I'll say its truth, not the truth. So our subconscious mind has definitions of ourselves, of our capability, of the world, of what is safe, of what we can do, what we can't do, how the universe works. And it is operating as if it is true. And so most of the transformation work that I do on myself and I do with my clients is going in to find those stories in the subconscious mind that are not true. But if my subconscious mind believes they are true, I'm going to operate from them. You know, if my subconscious mind says that mice are dangerous, if I see one, I'm going to jump on the table and I'm going to scream like a 5-year-old. And so that's not a useful way for me to respond. And so the work that I do with my clients, the work that I do myself, is figuring out how do I transform those. And those tailenders that show up are no fun. It is our critical voice on steroids telling us how we're going to not succeed, how we're going to make mistakes, how people are going to judge us, how we're not worthy of success. And so oftentimes I am asked when I'm teaching folks the beginning of tapping, do I need to tap on a positive phrase or do I need to tap on a negative phrase? And both are useful because if I say the positive, if I say the affirmative, and there's a part of my subconscious mind that is going to speak up and say, no, I don't believe that, It doesn't matter if I said, I'm going to fail, or if it said, I'm going to succeed, because then my subconscious mind goes, no, you're not going to fail. So I'm going to get to the negative either way. And for me, one of the values of stating positive phrases and stating where I would like to go as I'm tapping is it gives me the ability to unlock and discover the resistances in my subconscious mind that are going to show up as tailenders. Because sometimes I am aware of the limiting beliefs I have. I have experienced them before, but sometimes they're surprising. I love doing work, and we're going to talk about some of the approaches here in a moment when I'm working with clients and something comes bubbling up for them as a tail ender, and you can actually see them go, huh. And they are surprised by that tail ender. And for me, when that happens, that is awesome. It's not awesome because they're experiencing a tail ender. It's not awesome because their critical voice is speaking up really, really loudly. Instead, it is awesome because we have now found the thing that is in the way of them taking action. Because if there is a surprising subconscious belief that says it is not safe, or I am not allowed or worthy or deserving of doing what I'm doing right now or living the way that I want, then my subconscious mind is going to make sure it sabotages me so I don't step in and I don't do those particular things. And so by framing and pulling those forward in this way, we're actually getting an insight into what is actually in the way. And so there are times, and I get in trouble with this, and I have to apologize all the time to my clients, where my client will say, oh my gosh, I just heard, and I'll go, great. And I'm like, no. I don't mean it's great that you have that limiting voice. I'm not saying it's great that you have this resistance to taking action, but instead, it's great because we now know what is in the way. It's a useful piece of information. We can only solve the problems that we understand that are problems. And so this is the reason why I love tail enders, because the tail enders are the tool that help us to see where the resistance actually is. And when we clear that resistance, all of a sudden those positive phrases are things that we believe. You know, if I clear the you failed before, you're going to fail again, when I say, I'm going to make 5 new sales this week in my business so I can grow and move forward, there's a part of me that's going to go, yeah, you are. We can do this. Let's go. Or we'll go in a sense of curiosity. That sounds awesome. How do we do that? Because I can't be enthusiastic and I can't be curious if those tail enders are still hanging around. So the fact that they're coming forward is something that is good and useful. So the way that I like to collect tail enders is really, really simple. I just have a simple little document that is called my tail enders list. And so as I'm tapping in my tapping journal, I write down what I'm tapping on for the day, just so I can see what the process is. I write down the insights that come forward, and I write down those tail enders. So I end up with tail ender, tail ender, tail ender, and I just write them down. So number 2, now that we have all of these tail enders written down, what do we do with them? And this recording actually came from one of my clients asking me that exact question. She's like, I'm doing an awesome job and I've gathered all of these tail enders. Now I have all of these tail enders. What do I do with them? Which is a perfectly reasonable question, because as I sit here and tap, I might be in a circumstance where I get 4, 5, 6 tail enders a day. If I'm tapping every single day, I might end up with a comprehensive list of just 30 or 40 tail enders from this week. And so over time, there becomes a lot of them that are there. So the question then becomes, what do we do with them? And so for me, there are 3 ways that I look through this particular list as figuring out what I should be tapping on next. Number 1, what I notice is what are the tail enders that are showing up the most. A number of years ago, when I was starting to document my tapping in this particular way, over the course of January, during my daily tapping, on 8 different days over the course of the month, I had some sort of sense of professional jealousy bubble up inside of me. And I didn't realize it was something that was on my mind as much as it was. And so because I saw the frequency of it showing up, it gave me the opportunity to recognize, this is something that's hanging out quite a bit. So it gave me insight into, ooh, I need to go after these thoughts. Number two, as I'm reading through the list, I pay attention to the ones that as I read them, and I read them out loud because I want to really tune into them and I feel into them, I notice the ones that have the largest intensity as I'm reading through them. You failed before you're going to fail again. Yeah, that feels kind of true. You're wasted in your giftedness. I'm going to feel that in a much more powerful way. And so as I read through them, if there are some that are more intense, that gives me the opportunity to dive into it. The third thing I do is I look at the ones that are going to get in the way of me being successful in the actions I want to take in the short term. So for example, if I am not scheduled to speak in public for the next 3 months, then me tapping on a fear of public speaking is significantly less important than me being afraid that my audience is going to judge me if I send a new offer to them because I want to send an offer to them next week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what are the tail enders that are speaking to the things that I want to be doing right now. So the 3 lenses that we're looking through is frequency, what shows up on the list a lot, intensity, what is super, super strong, or what is most valuable that if I cleared it, I could be taking action today. Step 3. Now that we're in a circumstance where we have taken our longer list of tailenders and we've narrowed it down into a useful group of them, what we're going to do is we're going to take every single one of the tailenders and we're going to, if we need to, we're going to rewrite the phrase as if it is a negative statement about us or the world. And we're going to write it as an extreme. I failed before, I'm going to fail again. No one is going to listen to you. They are going to think what you're creating is dumb. So I'm making the tail ender and I'm turning it into a statement as if I had someone scolding me and waving their finger at me, telling me why I was bad and why it was wrong. And then after I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rate the intensity from 0 to 10. Now, I don't use SUDS rating a great deal, but for something like this, when I'm trying to figure out which thing to tap on next, I find this really, really useful. So this is less about figuring out the numbers so I can measure my progress, but instead, this is more about, I got a dozen things here that I might tap on. I want to find the one that generates the most intensity inside. And so what we're doing is we're not using the SUDS level, subjective level of distress. We're not using the SUDS level here as a measurement of our progress, but we're using it as a decision-making of what we're going to do. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the phrases out loud, have the words come out of your mouth, say them with energy so you can feel it. And then from 0 to 10, you're going to rate how true it is. You failed before, you're going to fail again. They're going to judge your work as stupid. I'm going to do each of those things, and I'm going to say, how true does that emotionally feel? And again, it's how true does it emotionally feel, not true is it intellectually. Because oftentimes our tail enders do not represent our intellectual truth. Sometimes they do. But in this case, because we're trying to clear emotional resistance, how emotionally true does it feel? Part 4. Now what we're going to do, once we've identified the tail ender that we're going to tune into and use, because we've taken the intensity and we've decided this is the one that we're going to tap on next, what we do is I say the phrase out loud again. They're going to judge you as stupid for producing this work. That's a 9. Great. So as I say that, then what I do is I tune into how I feel about that. Like, how did I know it was a 9? Is there tightness in my chest? Is there butterflies in my stomach? Is there a part of me that wants to hide away because it's afraid that no one's going to like what I'm doing? But I find the resistance, and then because we're dealing with the subconscious mind and not the conscious mind, I need to find a way to get information from that. And so the way that I do that is I use the resistance that I'm feeling in my body as a proxy for figuring out what clearing actually looks like. So if it's tightness in my chest, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend the tightness in my chest can talk to me. I know the tightness in my chest can't talk to me, but what I'm doing is I'm using the physical sensation as a way of mediating the information from my subconscious mind. I'm going to tune into that physical sensation. I'm going to ask it 2 questions. The first question I'm going to ask it is, what are you afraid is going to go wrong? So if we're working on, they're going to judge my work as not being any good. I'm going to ask, what is afraid that's going to go wrong? And it might say, they're going to write nasty notes about you. They're going to unsubscribe from your list. They're going to tell your friends that you're stupid, whatever it is. Then the second question we're going to ask is, what proof does it have that this is true? Now, there are going to be a couple of things that are going to happen when we ask that second question. Sometimes there is going to be information to that second question. Sometimes there's not going to be information to that second question. And our emotions might change in both of those scenarios. So I am in a circumstance where there is a sense of intensity, and it goes, what proof does it have? And it has memories and it has experiences. When I have those come forward, my intensity might go up, it might go down, or it might stay exactly the same. Like all of those outcomes could happen. Just be aware that that's part of it. And I could be in a circumstance where it doesn't have any proof. Sometimes when there's no proof, the intensity goes down because there's no proof. Sometimes the intensity stays the same even though there is no proof. Sometimes the intensity actually goes up because there's no proof and we're more scared because we don't know why. But either way, what are you afraid of? What proof do you have that this will happen? And we take advantage of that information coming forward. Step 5. Now, what we have is we have what the resistance is, what proof it has, and what's it afraid is going to happen, and what proof it has and that's going to go on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap. And the first part of the tapping is I am going to give that phrase truth and voice as I am tapping. There is a part of me that is afraid if I do this, people are going to judge me. And they're going to judge my work as stupid because they've done that in the past. They've said I don't know what I'm talking about. And I just give all of that voice and I keep talking and talking and talking. After I've done that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine a friend of mine has said all of those things to me. And if a friend of mine said all of those things to me, what is the response I would give? And I tap on that. I recognize the fact this isn't for everybody, but just because a couple of people reject it, doesn't mean everyone will reject it. Just because people are saying no doesn't mean they think I am stupid. They're just saying it's not a good fit for them. And so by going through this, I'm giving voice to the critical voice, the subconscious mind, the tailender, and all the proof that it has. And then I'm providing the counterfactual for the things that I intellectually know and believe. After I do that, I go back to the statement. I read the statement and see how true it is. And if it has gone down enough that I can move on and take action, awesome. I can go take action. I can move on to the next tail ender. Or if there's still intensity there, I can go back to the beginning and I can tap through it again. I can go back to the beginning and tap through it again. So those are my reflections on tailenders, why I love them, why I think they're so valuable, because that is where the transformational goal is. And you now have a really, really simple process that you can use to uncover the tailender, figure out which one you need to be focusing on, figuring out what information it's working from, and then know how to respond to it. And again, you can use tapping or you can use any other tool under the sun as you are engaging with this. If you know someone in your life who would appreciate this little process, please be our ambassador, pass it along. Our joke is our marketing budget is your word of mouth. So if there's someone in your life who you think could use this, it would mean the world to me if you passed it along. And if you pass this along, you're going to make that person's day brighter. Even if they don't come and they consume this in any particular way, the fact that you've reached out and said, hey, I'm thinking of you, this might make your day a little bit better. Even if they don't use this resource, the fact that you've reached out is going to make their day better because they know someone cares about them. I know that sounds cheesy because that is cheesy. And I also know it to be true. On the screen right now, you can actually see an entire collection of resources, more trainings exactly like this. Click on the playlist, consume some of that stuff, learn some more. If you got questions, let me know, and I look forward to talking to you real soon. Bye-bye.